The daughter of a Grantham corner shop owner, Margaret Roberts, came to dominate British political life like few in history. In the 1950s and 60s, the top ranks of the Tory party were an all-male club. Now married as Margaret Thatcher, she was deeply aware that as a woman, a grammar school girl, a chemist, she offended on many counts. But when Edward Heath lost his third general election, she dared to seize the dagger, and she won the party leadership. After her landslide election victory 4 years later, she pushed through a deflationary economic programme of monetary control and tax cuts. Opponents outside and inside her party pressed her to change tack.
You turn if you want to. The ladies not for turning.
She wanted to blast the old Labour Conservative consensus and build a new one. But deflationary measures and a hands-off approach to lame duck industries brought massive unemployment. As protests grew, so did her resolve and her sense of destiny.
I must say, I can't stand those who carp and criticise.
Retaking the Falkland Islands was the turning point in her popularity. It was her decision to risk sending a massive fleet to the South Atlantic. Scores of British and Argentine servicemen died. Margaret Thatcher believed the conflict had rekindled national confidence, and so it seemed did the voters.
Britain is not prepared to be pushed around. We have ceased to be a nation in retreat.
The Falklands helped to deliver another big majority. In her second term, she pioneered privatisation, the sale of council houses, and she slashed the powers of the trade unions. But she and her cabinet were nearly obliterated when the IRA bombed the Grand Hotel in Brighton during the Conservatives' conference.
All attempts to destroy democracy by terrorism will fail.
She saw the 1984-5 miners' strike as an attack on democracy and used every power to defeat Arthur Scargill's union. There would be more violent scenes when she introduced the poll tax in the teeth of strong ministerial opposition. But Europe was her downfall. She felt that President Mitterrand and Chancellor Kohl were old men in a hurry, rushing to integrate Europe, to which she had one response.
No, no, no.
In 1990, it all became too much for Geoffrey Howe, who resigned and called for a revolt.
The time has come for others to consider their own response to the tragic conflict of loyalties with which I have myself wrestled for perhaps too long.
She described that as bile and treachery. It triggered a challenge from Michael Heseltine, which fatally wounded her, though she was amongst the last to realise that.
Mrs. Thatcher, when are you going to resign?
But her cabinet colleagues told her support was evaporating and the game was up. Conservative MPs cheered at her Commons swan song, but it was they who'd evicted her from number 10.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
The party would be traumatised for years by this act of regicide. In retirement, she sometimes added to divisions in her own party. Controversy followed her, whether she was fraternising with the right or the left. Old age robbed her of her powers of concentration. And in 2003, she lost Dennis, her husband of 52 years. But in retirement, she could look back on a unique record of political achievement. The first woman Prime Minister, 3 successive general election victories, a lasting legacy, especially in economic policy, and her proudest boast, a new Labour Party shaped by her economic legacy, a new political consensus in her own image.